Back to the Yes We Can podcast. Today's show is sponsored by the Diamond Family. There will be a QR code at the top. If not, it's already there, the top of the show, where you can scan it and be entered into the Safe Cracker contest. Check them out on Manchester and Baldwin. It's an awesome family and an awesome destination to get your jewelry. Okay. We've got my friend Corey Schonhorst on today. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Thanks for coming on.
I'm excited about the holidays.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
With your sweater.
I'm like a grade school teacher lately. Like I really enjoy being festive.
Yeah, it's good. You know, I'm kind of in the holidays too. I'm kind of trying to keep things simple this year. Normally I overdo it.
Like only white lights? What do you mean by simple?
No, I mean like I only put a few ornaments on the tree. And a few, holidays are hard as a widow.
I get it.
There are a lot of triggers, a lot of reminders. I also lost my mom this time of year. So I'm trying to just keep things simple for myself. Being a solo parent, it's just not an easy time of year for me. So
solo parent for different reasons, but
yeah.
I think we went the opposite this year because I have two trees. Well, one tree and one, my eldest son gets back this coming Saturday.
Yeah.
And we've got an event that him and I are going to do. And then Sunday, the three of us will go cut down a tree.
That'll be awesome.
But we've already got our artificial one up because Ty Man wanted to put that up. And so I've got my grandparents' tree that they had for years and years and years as our artificial.
Yeah.
And then traditionally we've cut down a tree, but in the last 3 years, Blair's been at college, so we haven't been able to do that. So this year we're going to go cut down a tree. Yeah. And I'll have 2 Christmas trees.
Well, there you go.
Chocolate block full of ornaments.
I love it. So everybody celebrates differently, right? Holidays can be great for some people. They can be hard for others. Corey's been on my show before. We're kind of doing a second segment here with him. We've talked about sort of the traumas and struggles he's been through throughout his life. We went really deep up until the first grade, maybe. But
fourth grade.
But today we're going to fast forward to what he's doing today, and how he's managing sort of the trauma in his life, and how he's become successful. And the hope is that we provide hope to others that have been through a really hard time, because a lot of people have, right? And so we have to put one foot in front of the other. So Corey, why don't you bring us up to speed with what you have going on today? Well, actually, you know what? The floor is open. What would you like to start with?
Well, to your point of what you're saying there, something I have read recently that I enjoy is that the brightest souls are those who emerge from the fire and then walk back with buckets of water.
I love that.
To help put out the others. And so hopefully that's what this does, because there was a misconception when I initially started on my journey. I wanted to share it because when you read a biography or an autobiography, they're typically from successful people. And so you get a glimpse into what that journey was, but I've never really seen a show where it's like from the bottom to the top. And so my primary objective when I first started mental and overarching this whole thing was, and I had some TikTok stuff I was doing for a while daily, and I ultimately decided to stop that. But it was about watching the journey happen, because I was at my emotional rock bottom.
Because you had just gone through a breakup, someone that and we all go through breakups, and truly was a heartbreak.
Yeah.
And so not only are you, something else, your mom passed away the year prior. Is that correct?
No, all within the same,
okay,
6 months.
So lost his mom and a heartbreak.
Changed careers.
A lot, right? And
a friend of mine became incredibly mentally ill, and there was a lot of intense emotions wrapped up in there helping that situation out. It was just a lot in general. And what's great about the realization and healing that I've done, not only from those situations, but just I wanted to go back and truly heal.
Yeah.
Is the realization that part of my heartbreak, part of the reason I was so caught up within that certain relationship is not to take away anything from that individual, because I truly was deeply in love with that person. But the reason that I took it so hard and was able to walk away and then perhaps revisit it at a later date, like was requested, was primarily because everything that I had emotionally was wrapped up into other individuals. My validation, my need for self-assurance, all my abandonment stuff. And it just came crashing down when my mother passed away, because that's where a lot of it stemmed. but that's not where it all rested. That's not where it should lay down.
So how did you realize this? Did your ex tell you this? Was this self-realization? Was this with a therapist? How did you uncover these things?
It was a combination. Ultimately, there's two things that my ex told me that really stuck out in my brain. There's a lot of things I bounced off my multiple therapists that have stayed with me. But once you get to a certain level, it's really about you doing the work, right? So another phraseology that I enjoy.
Is that a real word?
I don't think so. As of late, I think it's just phrase.
I like it.
As of late is that, we don't control, and whether it's God or the universe, I kind of speak to both of them at this point. My manifestation comes through prayer and allowing the universe to do things. But the phrase is that, and perhaps I took something I heard and just created a different thing. But basically, we have to row our own boat. We have to row the canoe every day. If we're not putting in the work, and I'll talk briefly about my morning routine because that I think is essential to my growth and continuous growth. If we're not putting in the work, then you're not doing it. But you can't fight the current, and you don't know where the stream goes. And so I try and stay fluid within my controlled factors. What I can control is the speed of my canoe. I can control if I'm going left bank, right bank. I can control if I'm staying in the center. So there's a lot of things I can control in my life. But what I no longer try and control is where the stream is going to take me. And so that's my detachment. That's my letting go part. And it doesn't mean you're detaching emotionally from being connected with others. It just means you're detaching from being dependent upon others for your own emotional health.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's hard to do, though.
It's incredibly
I've been
hard
doing it for a long time.
Well, and it's a daily effort. And so I think that's where the daily routine comes in, at least for me. We've all heard about how there's no magic bullet. There's no one individual thing. Consistency beats out everything else, right? So whether it's determination, inspiration, whatever gets you going in the morning, nothing beats consistency. Because doing the same thing 200 days in a row is always going to be better than doing the one thing intensely 120 days out of those 200 days.
All right. So give us an example of what your morning routine is.
So it's pretty regimented at this point. And at first I did it as a forced thing. So one of the things that stood out in my brain that I was told by my ex that I've really tried to live by, and it seems probably silly in some cases, but I don't think so, is I hope you heal and go on to do great things.
That was one of her parting phrases.
Yeah, which I really took to heart as, okay, I'm gonna heal everything, which is never gonna be over. It's always healing, and I'm gonna do great things. And my great things come through gratitude and being a servant rather than me going out and being boastful and doing that stuff. So it might be counterintuitive initially to see someone who is the host of a show and runs a production company to think that they are no longer in need of other people's affirmation. But in actuality, it's quite the opposite. I got to a point where the only reason I'm doing what I do now and do this and am on this is because I no longer care. And it's not that I don't care because I'm not worried about other people. I don't care because I don't need you to tell me how great I am to feel good about myself, right? Or anyone for that matter. And again, it doesn't come from a supreme confidence or arrogance. It just comes from knowing that I can control my thoughts. I can control my happiness. And it's a beautiful thing when you get that point. And I struggle to stay in that medium, right? I falter. I'm not perfect at it, and I don't ever intend to be. What I intend to do is do the same thing consistently over the next 30 years of my life, at least, and see how great I can become in competition with myself.
And as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about, you have two sons. One is, how old is Tyson?
Right. And the other one is 20.
How old's Tyson?
9.
9 and 20. And I'm thinking about how you're healing from your past. You're healing and to try to keep, it's still, your kids are the priority, right? Like,
oh yeah. Well, no, kind of.
Okay, tell me more.
I've really adapted and understood the putting your own mask on before you put your kid's mask on thing. My kids can't be my priority unless I'm my priority. Because if I'm not my priority, no one else can ever be my priority in life. I can't have I can't have a secondary priority without me being the first.
And I understand that and hear that. I had a conversation with my dad today. So we've been struggling in the mornings. My kids are 7, 9, or I'm sorry, 7, 5, and 4, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they're throwing fits in the morning. They have a hard time listening to me. And I'm trying to figure out, all right, is it the holidays? Is it them missing their dad? Is it because I'm stressed about the
Is it
holidays?
because mom's not a spanker?
I'm not a spanker. You're right.
I remember that from the other show.
Yeah. So I'm driving to work and I'm like, Dad, I put my dad on speakerphone. I'm like, I need you to just talk to my kids. And it's amazing, first of all, that I have so much respect for him and listening. And I'm getting to a point, I promise you. And he talks about how in the Bible, our kids' job is to honor their father and their mother, right? But it also talks about how we need to serve others before ourselves. So there's this weird...
My oldest son has that proverb tattooed on his arm. Honor thy mother and thy father.
Oh, amazing. And he's a great kid.
He's a great-ass adult. He's an adult at this point.
He's a great adult. So weird, but adult. Because I'm like, wait, I'm an adult and he's an adult? I'm an old adult. Anyway, there's a...
adult with 3 A's.
There's a hard line between being selfish, right, and putting your kids as a priority.
Yes.
You know, it's almost like you're teetering on this line all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, I mean, I think in my brain, there's an easy answer for how I think
that's
of
what
it.
I'm looking for, your answer. What do you say to that?
Well, that's what I'm giving you. I'm leading into that, meaning that I have to prioritize. So in other words, if I'm not bringing the best version of myself to the table, let's look at it as my kids first. And so this goes into the morning routine. If my children don't get my best version of myself every day in, day out and see me grow, then they're going to have to unravel more stuff as they get older. Because now they're dealing with the trauma that I'm causing them from my inconsistency or my mental battles that they see me battling. Because whether you're outwardly talking about it or not, they sense it. And so if I'm not improving myself on a daily basis, then my kid's going to have to make up for that at some point. So the reason that I say I prioritize myself is because in actuality, it benefits them. They're getting their best dad. If I'm in a romantic relationship and I'm not prioritizing myself, then that romantic relationship is going to falter at some point or become inconsistent because I'm no longer attracting that person every day by becoming a better version of myself day in, day out and becoming a more improved version of whom they fell in love with. But instead I'm staying stagnant and eventually that love will fade. If I'm not in a business sense coming to the table with my best mind, learning things about how I can improve my business, taking on the brunt and the load of when we make mistakes as a company and improving that every single day, then I'm not doing my best service to my people. And so that's kind of where I'm at control-wise, is when I say myself is a priority. So how do I do that? I do that in the mornings so that I have bad moments and I have bad times. I may have a bad day, but I don't have bad weeks. I don't have bad days collectively. So what I first do is my worry journal. That's a journal I keep on my bed and nobody sees but me. If I have gotten cut off in traffic today and I, to myself, in my car alone, say, what an idiot. I'm remembering that. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to write it down. How could I have handled that differently? Because I don't know what their situation is. Probably not a pregnant woman in that car, but might be.
Pregnant woman?
Meaning on the way to the hospital having a baby. That's why I'm driving erratically.
I was going to say, we as women, when we're pregnant, we do need some, you need to give us some passes.
I wasn't generalizing your driving abilities.
No, passes is in if we're not paying attention, we're cutting you off because we're just tired.
Right. But what I mean by that is I don't know anybody's situation or journey or where they're at on it. Now, one thing I have figured out though is when you're on a certain path, man, you can pick up energies. Like I can read people so much better now because I'm on a different part of my life.
Yeah.
So the worry part is where I get all my worries out, how I handled things, and I write it down. What can I do about it today, this week, this month? So it's out of my head onto the paper, and I set it and forget it like a rotisserie chicken. Directly after that, to change my mindset, I pray in gratitude. From the simplest things to the most complex things, whenever I can think of. I try and list at least 10 things, but I don't give myself parameters. Sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 8. But everything from being able to breathe to being able to wake up my son for school, to get him up for school. So I pray in gratitude. Now my mindset is in the servant mode. Now I understand that I don't change the universe. I accept the universe. I change what I can control. So now how do I take the next step for controlling myself? I go to the gym, whether it's a workout at home or going to the gym. Lately, I've been going to the gym. Now I'm controlling my physical being. So I'm aligning myself in mind, body, and spirit. So I've prayed in gratitude, and now it's time to get physically better, so that no matter what happens throughout my day, I'm physically stronger at this point, and I'm closer to God at this point. So there's two things that I've done. Already I'm emotionally and physically better than I was yesterday. So bring it on. And then I get back and I listen to self-affirmations, and I listen to either a podcast that I'm learning something, or an audio book where I'm going to learn more about my own business. So I'm strengthening my brain. And I would like to say that I read often. I don't get a chance to read that often. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So now I've strengthened my mind, my body, and my spirit. So I'm off to a pretty good start. So no matter what happens after that, I can take a breath and say, well, I've done this. I've conquered my day. I've made my bed, kind of thing, right? The secondary part
Do you make your bed?
I do make my bed.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's very simple because I'm a dude. I have 3 pillows and a thing. So unless I'm like washing things, it's pretty easy to make my bed. I just take my comforter and go, done. So I don't want to give some error of perception that I'm putting all 32 pillows back on my bed. I have 3, they stay there.
So I have like 15 pillows. I need to get rid of them.
Yeah, well, it's a lady thing, right? Like I have a very guy house. But after that, the one thing that I would say is another important part of my day is I do allow myself to feel my feelings. So one of the things I used to put away, and what I think we do as men in general, is we distract ourselves with our career, our children, our gym, and so we don't feel feelings. So if I do have sadness, instead of trying to think it away or change it, I give myself a time period, and I say, oh, I'm going to allow myself to feel this sadness, but I get 15 minutes and it's back to work. And if I still am having tings of that sadness, understand that I have tomorrow morning during my worry time to think about it. But for today, 15 minutes. And whether that means cry for 15 minutes. That's fine. But when my timer goes off, wipe your tears away, wash your face, get on with your day. And I don't say that last part about getting on with your day to try and make myself sound over masculine in a situation. What I mean by that is that anybody, anywhere, should understand that stoicism and controlling what we can control has to have an effect of your brain. If you let your emotions, and I think Mike Tyson said this, if you let your emotions control your mind instead of your mind controlling your emotions, you'll never win. And so to truly be able to put aside drugs, alcohol, masturbation, immediate gratification of any kind, and take on to the next steps and do continuous self-improvement, you have to be able to understand the difference between immediate gratification, whether that means I feel sad and I want to feel happy right now, and working through your issues and your problems. And so I look at that and I take it very seriously, and I allow myself to feel those feelings. Breakup is a good example of that, because in the world of paper stats, men take longer to get over a breakup and women take it harder initially. Again, these are not my ideas. It's just what it is.
Interesting.
And that's primarily because, from what I understand, because we distract ourselves. We don't feel the feelings. A woman might go in and cry her eyes out for 2 days and really just be in it. And then it's kind of over it. Or it doesn't linger, but a dude pushes it down, drags it down. So something happens or triggers a year from now, and like, why am I overwhelmed with this sadness? Why can't I get this person out of my head? Whatever the case is. But there's got to be, I think, on both sides, a firm understanding of the seasons and the reasons thing. I mean, it sounds hokey, but it really means a lot, because no. I'm confident that I wouldn't be where I'm at today with the confidence to do what I do today had I not been through the fire that I've been through. My grandfather didn't coin the phrase, but he said it a lot. Calm seas don't make a good sailor.
Calm seas don't make a good sailor. Okay.
Right?
I like that.
So if I'm always on glass water and my boat's just cruising along, I don't know how to maneuver in a storm.
It's a great.
But if I've been through a lot of storms and you're getting ready to go crab fishing for the first time, you're going to want me as your captain.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We haven't even really been able to touch on all your storms, really. But I think having you here today talk about this hopefully does provide hope to people, because you've been through a hell of a lot. You really have. And you've kind of taken that. I mean, I've seen it, for the last 6 months or so. I've seen the transition, and I came into your life right when that breakup was happening. and I've seen it all, the change.
Transpire.
Yeah. And it's been pretty cool to see.
Well, thank you. It's been pretty cool to live. There was something beautiful about being at rock bottom because you only have one place to go. Right. So it's like, that's pretty kick-ass. We've got one direction that's up, which is part of the reason, like Punchline, right? Like I created Punchline.
Yeah, I was hoping we could actually transition to that right now. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So years ago, I had my own agency and I did marketing and PR work and help build brands for companies. And part of this journey was getting closer to God was important to me because I had to learn to let things go, like that detachment thing. And I always wanted to force my fleshly desires. And why can't I have this person back in my life? Why can't I have this instance back in my life? Why can't I redo this? Man, what a silly way to think. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad if you think that way. What a silly way for me to think. I'm not a mental health expert, so I'm not going to tell you how to feel or think. I'm going to tell you that it was silly for me because I had such a hard time doing things that I would then bring my words back into it. Because if I couldn't control something physically, like we talked about initially when I was a child, my words were the next step. But when you lead with your words and your actions don't match, you let yourself down and you let that other individual down. When you lead with your actions and you just keep quiet, things start to happen. And so with Punchline, I had an idea and I called Joe and I called Sam, these two dudes that I kind of knew at the time. We didn't know each other as well as we do now. I said, hey, will you guys come out and film this thing? And I called two dudes I know who were going through, I just used the word dudes a lot for some reason. There must be something about this conversation.
Like 4 in like 10 seconds, but you're good.
Yeah, but check this out though. What's neat about that is when I revert back to childlike slang or I get fidgety. I don't know if you've noticed, but I barely fidget ever anymore.
Yeah, you used to be always pumping.
Yeah. Well, it's because your inner child is uncomfortable.
Oh, I know this.
And so he starts trying to get out. So I always try to picture it like the movie Frighteners with Michael J. Fox, when the guy's trying to come through the thing and like you see the wall like moving like.
I know exactly.
That's what my inner child's doing. And it's because I'm talking about a situation that my first episode, which was trying for me because I could not for the life of me let go of this heartache. And it was overwhelming. And I was just so sick of it because I couldn't control it. I knew I didn't have any control. I couldn't use my words to make this individual feel differently about me. The breakup was the breakup and it was permanent and it was significant and I needed to feel it and I couldn't accept it.
Yeah, and it happens a lot in relationships.
It does. And what's crazy about it is there was no solace of ultimately I'll get over this and I won't ever run into that person again. Right? So it was a little bit uncomparable in those situations, but at the same time, relatively less traumatic. So anyway, I brought these two guys on and I said, hey, I want to do a show. I want to hear how you guys are getting through the stuff you're getting through. One of the individuals had a kidney transplant. He was on his deathbed. Fast forward 5 years after he got the transplant, he's run like 13 half marathons and gotten married, went back and got his degree, and JT's doing amazing. Incredible dude. The other guy, tail end of a divorce with 3 children. I dated somebody for a year and 2 months. This dude was married for 9 years with 3 small kids and he's going through a divorce. If these guys can wake up every day and not thinking about throwing a rope over the rafters, then surely I should be able to too. Right? And so I had some pretty dark thoughts at that time. And I thought, man, every way I've always learned in my life has been to try and teach others because then I dumb it down in my own brain. Because I'm trying to translate that for myself. And so I brought these guys on, we did the episode. It felt really good to share and talk to other men who I view as men, right? In the classical sense. Like these aren't dudes who are like, these are men's men. And I don't know, that doesn't have to have a significance to anyone else, but it has significance to me because I grew up without a father. And so I look to these other guys and mentors like Sean, who you got a chance to meet. Him and I talk often about mental fortitude.
You want to tell them who Sean is?
Sean Blakemore, from TV's General Hospital and such movies as Ad Astra. So he's a
close friend of
yeah, and like he said, he's known me since before I was born. So he's been an incredible mentor for me. And what's cool about that is I got to watch him have a dream, work a dream, live a dream, become the dream.
Mhm.
So that's a great example to be able to watch. But you were my second guest, and that's where your show came from. And then I was doing this. So when I decided, should I start a production company? And this is how I'll wrap this portion up, so that we can get on to the day. Is I asked God for a sign. I never asked God for a sign, and I have a mentor I've had for 10 years, Pat Queenson, who's an incredible friend and mentor. And we have lunch at least once a month for like 8 years. And out of nowhere, he's like, "Hey, listen, for the last 30 years, I know you're going through some stuff. For the last 30 years, whenever I put my keys in my wallet and everything in my pocket, I put this in my wallet too, and I want you to have this." And he sets this down on the table, and it's this little wooden cross. And so now I carry this in my pocket every single day, and I rub on it when I think about stuff. And something kept compelling me to take a walk. And I was talking with my previous and current business partner in the events company, Reed Lowe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Dude, I really want to do this production company." And he's like, "No, man, low hanging fruit. Just book me for more events. Let's get Cam at more stuff. Let's do this." He's like, "Don't be a donkey," right? And he always says it with love. And I said, "No, man, I really need to do this." And he goes, "Well, we had another company together, and we kind of saw the writing on the wall that was going away. And so we both knew we were going to be out some income at a certain point. And prior to starting this, I had a backup plan. I was going to go work for another company, and I was going to make a great base salary, 6 figures, nice, comfortable living." And so I went for a walk. I had this cross in my pocket, and I was walking. I was praying with my hands out, and I was like, "Hey, God, I never really asked for anything. If I'm supposed to do this production company, can you please send me a sign that's undeniably you?"
Mm-hmm.
And almost instantaneously, I thought somebody threw something in my head. And I looked, like, I felt that, and it was a bird had flown down and pecked me directly in the back of my head, like, dead serious. I texted Reed immediately, and I was like, "I gotta call you." I was like, "Dude, I'm doing the production company." He's like, "Why?" I'm like,
We just got pecked in the head by a bird.
God knows I'm connected with nature. I'm big on nature. Like, that's my thing. And then over the course of the next thing, I save these trinkets now, because I used to think like, "Oh, yoga's hokey. This is hokey. Breathwork's silly, blah, blah, blah." What I've realized is that whether it's a placebo or not a placebo, if something works for somebody, then you could go try it. Like, try it out.
Mm-hmm.
It might work for you in different ways. And the same way that church is, the three of us could go to the same service, and you walk out of church and they ask you, what did you take away from today? It's going to be different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to need to hear exactly what we want to hear, because even if we are letting the universe flow, we make things in the image or the service that we really want. A good example of that is if you're having a hard time making a decision, flip a coin. And it doesn't matter what side that coin lands on,
Mm-hmm.
because when that coin is flipping through the air, you're wishing for it to be heads or tails.
So then you know.
So whatever you're wishing for it to land on, that's your true answer.
That's a great point.
Right? And so the God signs have continued to happen. I have the first check for my company in here.
Who's that from?
Yeah, right? From Yes We Can. But what was really cool is I was helping another group of individuals do talking to them about a concert they wanted to do for a charity benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about our God winks and our different things. And they were sharing some that happened with them to me, and I was sharing some. And they were like, "I'm still really worried. I'm concerned that this isn't going to happen." And I was like, "Look, man, it either is or it isn't. Let's just plan it. Let's figure it out." So I'm almost back in my truck, and this dude comes running back. Rick comes running back across the thing, and he holds up this guitar pick. And he's like, "Dude, we're having a concert."
And so I was just entering into your life. You were helping me get my podcast going. Obviously, that's my first check to you. All these things happened shortly after that prayer.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful.
Well, think about this. That prayer was June 18th-ish. I incorporated Punchline Productions July 23rd. And I did my first show. And then you started like almost a month later. Like our first show was September-ish. Mm-hmm. We're only in December.
Mm-hmm.
And we have now 5 employees. And
things are happening, yeah.
17 shows. And it's because I'm allowing the universe to take me where I need to go, mm-hmm. but I'm putting in the work every day.
Yeah.
And when you're walking your purpose and you're living a consistent life, the correct people are drawn to you. Mm-hmm. My circle is different. It's smaller, mm-hmm. but it's more meaningful and it's more supportive. And I think ultimately none of that would have happened, to circle all the way back, had I not prioritized myself over everything else. It's not a selfish thing to do. It's a way to bring my best self to the table so that everybody gets my best version, because that's what everyone else deserves. And I think ultimately it's quite the opposite. Becoming your best self every day is the only way, in my opinion, as an individual who's not a mental health professional, to live a life of gratitude and servitude, because time is only currency we can't get back, and we don't know what the extent of it is. So if I'm not doing my best every day, I'm doing a disservice to everyone, starting with myself.
I love that. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Again, it's been really cool to watch and kind of be in the background, seeing all this happen.
Yep.
So, Corey Schonhorst, everybody. He is the owner and operator of Punchline Productions. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You know, who knows? Maybe we'll do another segment soon.
Yeah, maybe we can backtrack to high school.
Yeah, hopefully you guys heard that story and it hit home for you and provides hope for some of you that may need it. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget, this show is sponsored by the Diamond Family. Please go to the QR code on the corner of the screen, scan it on your phone. They've got some cool contests running this month. Beautiful jewelry if you're looking for some holiday gifts. Please go visit their store. Michael Haddad is a great friend of mine. He has an awesome family. So join.
Is that Manchester and Baxter? Is that that intersection?
I think so. It's on Manchester, headed west.
If you're going west, it's on the right-hand side. Right in front of Joey B's.
Yep, has its own
fresh market,
own building. They had Santa Claus this last weekend, and my kids.
And they've been at that location since their parents were running.
No, they switched locations. They moved. But I met his dad this weekend. Sweetest family. So again, if you're looking for any sort of jewelry gifts this holiday season, please go in. They do specialize in engagement rings. Hint, hint. Go check them out. Tell them you
heard. Who? Are you talking to somebody?
Whoever's listening who needs to be proposing to their girlfriends. Because there's a lot of you guys out there. Go ask for Michael. Tell him you heard about this from the Yes We Can podcast. Please like, comment, subscribe to the Yes We Can podcast. Send it to all your friends. Thank you all of those of you who are listening and watching, and we'll be on soon.